Informative and unpredictable, testing the limits like only we can. From Span Enterprises in Rock Hill, South Carolina, it's the Bandit Room.
Hi, I'm Amber, and welcome to the Bandit Room. This week I have two very special guests and brides with me. I have Katie and Jarisel.
I already look stressed.
They are both brides-to-be here in the very near future. And so today we're going to talk about how to effectively plan a wedding while you're still working a full-time job. As much as we would love to not work while planning a wedding because that is a full-time job.
Retweet.
Yes. Unfortunately, that cannot happen for everyone. So we're going to talk a little bit about today about different apps and different techniques and different things that you can do to help effectively plan your wedding while you're still clocking in those 40 hours. And myself, I've been a wedding planner for almost 10 years. And I just do it on the side now as fun. And I started when I planned my own wedding 10 years ago. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with all of the aspects from
I don't get it.
From the guest list to seating charts to all of the little details that you have to think about, but you don't want to think about. So I've planned a ton of weddings from start to finish, and I love it. I find it so much fun. So we'll start with Jarisel. She is getting married on November 4th of this year, so just in a couple days. And so she is a little bit closer to the end than Katie is, so we'll speak with her a little bit about what she has found helpful in this time of planning.
Well, where do I begin? I always thought, I think I was like every little girl, I always thought, I can't wait to plan my wedding. I always thought I was a detailed-oriented person until I had to plan a wedding. It's just been 100% a full-time job. And then the only ways that I know I could have gone through it, and also I should note that my wedding is at an out-of-state wedding, which just adds another factor to it. But truly, apps like The Knot have helped me immensely. Having an actual wedding planner has also helped me immensely. If anything, just to keep me organized, because again, I thought I was detail oriented, but that's just not my nature apparently. So having those like notifications or having, like I know for example, The Knot has a checklist, and of course not everything applies. So I think the first few weeks or months, I kind of sifted through the list and deleted what didn't apply to my, to my wedding. And then kept the things that were relevant to me. And that has been super helpful to look at and monitor on a weekly basis or so and figure out, that's right, I was supposed to buy gifts for the ring bearer or something like that.
I think you touched on it too about hiring a wedding planner. So many times I've heard, I can't afford a wedding planner. And it is a big chunk of your budget. However, if you can find a wedding planner who does fit into your budget, it will save you so much money and time and stress, because most likely those wedding planners, they have all of their contacts. So whether you need a florist or a caterer or whatever you need, they have that already established. And so in the end, you save time not trying to go out and find all these individual people. They already have it. And then they also know money saving tips and just little things here and there. They'll know like, oh, instead of doing this, do it this way, and it'll save you $50. It's $50, but it's $50.
Right.
So definitely, I think when you said I hired a wedding planner, like you cannot do it without that.
There was just no way I was going to be able to do even what we've planned so far without her. And you're right, she has helped me incredibly trying to figure out sort of what I can compromise on, what I shouldn't compromise on, and things like that, and just things that again you've never really thought about until you have to feed the masses.
Right.
But yeah, so that's just been probably the best part for me, is having even an additional support system, because a big portion of how I've also done it is not only having the apps and the planner, but also delegating. For my specific wedding, I don't have a maid of honor, but I do have a bridal party, and the theme of it all is it takes a tribe. So everyone was assigned a job. And that's the way that we did it. And I just said, you're in charge of making the bridal shower happen. You're in charge of making the bachelorette shower happen. If you need it, or the bachelorette party. If you need anything, let me know. You're in charge of, you're the point of contact for the day, things like that.
So you were just able to delegate it out and leave it.
Yeah. So that's the
let's back up a second and let's hear how you got engaged.
Well, that also was a stressful time. Because we had talked about it, and we knew it was something that we wanted in the future, and that was the next step we wanted to do. And then he kind of did it to himself. He kind of kept hyping it up. Yes, I was obviously interested, but I was in no hurry. But he kept saying, Jarisol, March is going to be such an awesome month. And like, it's going to be your birthday and we're just going to have so much going on, and making it very clear that that's when he was going to do it. And I was like, okay. And then for 3 weekends straight, he blocked off the entire weekend where I wasn't allowed to make plans. I wasn't allowed to do anything. And he would wake me up at sunrise and we would not go to sleep. Like, he had things planned all throughout the day. To like 1 a.m. So the first weekend we did Savannah, and I was like, that was cute, and that was for my birthday, and I knew he wasn't gonna overlap birthday, and so I was like, I'm pretty sure this is not gonna happen, but I dressed to the nines regardless. Just
I think
in
you
case.
even got your nails done every weekend, didn't you?
Well, yes. Like, I think I did it. Ended up being twice in 3 weeks, which is a lot for like a gel and things like. Yes, no. And I had my hair straightened. I had the whole thing. It didn't happen that weekend, and that was fine with me. Then the second weekend, he planned like a Charlotte excursion type thing, and that was so much fun. And then I was like, we went to the ballet. That's what it was. And I was like, we've never been to the ballet. Like, surely this is it. No, it was not it. It was not it. And then the third weekend, he had another weekend plan. And at this point, I was like, okay, for sure, this is it. And we go and we like reenact our first date, like all these things. Even with our first date, he like had little notes of things from our past, like tickets and stuff like that. And I was like, this is it. Like, I'm sweating at this point. I'm thinking this is it.
You're about to pass out.
Oh yeah, I'm about to pass out for sure. And we end the night. We go to dinner. He drops me off at my house. And at this point, I'm livid. Like, that's it. 3 weeks in, I'm like, I can't afford another manicure. My hair is fried to a crisp. So I was like done, and I was trying to be so chill about it. I was trying, and so like we were talking before I went to bed, and I'm like, I couldn't contain it anymore. I'm like, I'm done. And then he's like, oh my gosh, I have something else planned for you next week and you're gonna love it. And I said, no, that's it, I'm done. I'm so sorry. If you need me, I'll be here in my apartment, in my pajamas. I don't want to see makeup ever again. That was your window, you lost your window.
Right.
And I was on the verge of tears / crying / already crying at this point, and we ended it, and he was like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do this, And then I'm like, no, it's fine. It's just like you set an expectation and all this stuff that I didn't even want. But anyway, and then the next morning he calls me like at 5:30 in the morning because he works right around the corner from my house, or where I lived at the time. And he was like, hey, can I drop off my lunch? And he's notorious for leaving his keys everywhere but where he's supposed to have them. So I was like, yeah, sure. So I'm like groggy in my robe, and I come outside like to my living room to go to the door, and he's there, and there's music playing, and like,
oh my word.
And so I look a hot mess, like top knot in like a furry robe, no pants, obviously. And that was that. And then he just said nice things and proposed. And I mean, it was so sweet. But I was, I think the first words out of my mouth were, "I hate you." Yeah. But I mean, it was great. And apparently, that's how he had planned it all along. He's like, I wanted to like push it. He's like, I obviously didn't mean to make you mad, but like, I was like, and then everyone that we tell the story to is like, you monster!
What is
like,
wrong with you? That is so funny. So my engagement didn't go quite like that. It went very, very, very simple. And he got down on one knee, and it was not the right place. Like, as a girl, woman, like, you watch all of these stupid Disney movies and all of these love movies, and you set yourself up, right? So like, you're like, oh man, this is how it's gonna happen, and like, you have a scenario for every season. So if it's the fall, like mine happened to be in the fall, and we went to somewhere like Maggie Valley, like somewhere Asheville-ish, And I thought, oh man, there's so many beautiful overlooks, and there's the trees are perfect. And he got down on one knee in front of a Pillsbury Doughboy, and I looked at him like,
you better get back up.
Get up, get up. And I felt so bad because he was so excited.
Right.
And he didn't get up. And I was like, are you, really? So, I mean, it's because we set ourselves up.
Yeah, it's the worst.
I mean, why do we do that? So, anyway, we've been married for 10 years. So really the engagement, it's this wonderful process, but it really has nothing.
No.
It doesn't matter. Like, even if he just slips you a ring, like, who cares? You know what I mean?
Unnecessary stress. That's what I asked him.
Right.
I said, I always used to tell him, he's like, do you have anything in mind for it? And I was like, extraordinary.
Right.
Emphasis on the ordinary.
Yeah.
That's not what he did. Well, it is what he did, but just in the
the
hardest way ever.
Backwards way.
Right.
So that's Jaricel, and she will continue with telling you some more about different apps and things that she has used to plan her wedding. Katie is getting married on March 17th of next year, so 2018. So hers is a little bit further away, but she is super detail oriented, and she has that stuff together. She's ready. And so will you tell us how you got engaged?
Yes. So mine was, we'd been talking about it since October of the previous year, so 2016, and it was right around the weekend before July 4th, and I was also kind of a little frustrated at this point. Like, he had, we were going back and forth and hinting at it and having conversations, and our church actually had this 4th of July get together, so I was like, oh, we should invite both our families, and it just so happened that they were both there, so I was like, well, maybe, but I told him I didn't want it to be a big crowd, because kind of shy and reserved,
right.
And I was like, I do not want 100 people looking at me, so no thank you. So then, and that was July 3rd, so then the next day, Monday, July 4th, we were like, hey, let's go up to the mountains, and so we ended up going to Blowing Rock, and we invited both of our families again. It was a literal spur of the moment plan. So like that night I was like, what if he does it tomorrow? Like, I don't know. I just had this thought, and like we were kind of talking about how the day was going to go, and he was like, yeah, I just want to kind of, make sure we spend at least one moment like with both of our families. And I was like, So like that night, like I went with my sister to Ulta and like bought gel nail polish because there was no time to get my nails done.
Right.
And picked out a dress and everything to wear the next day. So sure enough, the next day we went, and then they got us in this little cute alleyway with like the vines growing.
Right, that's so cute.
And they were like, oh, we're just gonna get a picture of you, whatever. And me and my siblings had already like taken pictures. So then I was like, okay, why are we doing this again? And like me and him were at the end of the alleyway, and he was like, oh, don't worry, this is the most important picture. And I was like, wait, what? And then like I turned over, and sure enough, he's down on his knee with the ring in his, and I was like, what?
That's so cute.
Like, how did this happen?
The same thing happened to my roommate. She woke up the day, or that night before she got engaged. We're both engaged at the same time. She's also getting married in March. She woke up, or like the night before, she was gonna go somewhere with her now fiance. She said, Jaricel, can I borrow your pink dress for my engagement tomorrow? I said, what? She's like, I know I'm getting engaged tomorrow. I need your pink dress. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. And I had obviously already known that she was gonna get engaged, but I'm like, how did you figure it out?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So now you're engaged, and everybody's excited, and your mom and your mother-in-law and your grandparents and everybody's excited for the big day that's coming up. And some people plan out for a year or 2 years or 5 years, and some people do really short engagements. How long was your engagement?
Mine will be 8, I think.
8 months.
Or close to 8.
And
yeah.
yours?
Too long.
Yes. Katie wanted to be married right after she got engaged.
So what is your actual one?
Well,
July to March. It's 10? No, yeah, about 10 months.
We'll count it out later.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do our math skills later. So anyway, so now you're in the planning process, and like Jaricel alluded to before, a lot of the planning checklists that you'll find online, there's a lot of great information in those. In some of the beginning months, there's a lot of stuff that could apply to you, but doesn't necessarily apply to your situation. And then you'll also find that you'll be very busy for a couple months, and then there's kind of this lull, like, we can't really do anything until 2 weeks before the wedding. And then right before the wedding, it's the smack hits the fan and everything, like it's on until you're walking down the aisle. So what are some of the ways that you have found that have been helpful in planning that process while you're working?
I have probably not, true confession, I probably haven't eaten outside. Like, I've been eating at my desk for the last probably month, 2 months. And that's just a good way to do time management for me, because I know I have errands to run, I have calls to make, things like that. So I've literally carved myself an hour every day, my lunch hour, where it's pretty much all wedding, the whole hour. So I have lunch at my desk beforehand, and then go and do that and make those calls and do those follow-ups. So that's a big time management key that has played a big role. I also, with the apps, I have like the notifications, which honestly could be a blessing or a curse. I just don't know, because
I'm sure they're constant.
because like I'll get the notifications, especially now in the season of RSVPing. Like I'll get a buzz every time somebody RSVPs, and at first it's so exciting, and then it becomes less exciting. And I'm like, please stop. We have 4 days. Why are you still RSVPing? But things like that are a really great way. And then also those same apps are able to, because initially I didn't realize how to use the guest list section of the app. I was like, I'm not going to import all my names on there. But having people RSVP themselves online has been super helpful, and that's a super useful way to track who's confirmed, who's not, and things like that. So that has actually proven to be one of the most useful portions of the app, for sure.
Very cool. What are some of the ways that you have prepared?
Definitely Wedding Wire. That's one of my favorites. It's been my best friend because it's kind of all in one. You can do your budget planning, you can do your guest list. Seating chart has been really big for me because I'm just having a backyard wedding. So like just kind of figuring how we want the tables, who's going to go at what tables. I'm not doing an online RSVP, but that, in hindsight, that would have maybe been a handy feature.
I should have done the whole thing online RSVP, honestly.
You know what I did recently is I did a Google phone number RSVP. And so
Really?
like on the RSVP card, it just had like, call this number to RSVP. And then it was just a pre-recorded voicemail, and they just left their name, first name, last name, and if they were coming or not.
That's awesome.
And it worked wonderfully because they left a voicemail. It was the talk to text, so you got a message, and then you could also listen to it as well. So
that's awesome.
It was a really good
I
idea.
could use that.
Next time.
Yeah. Next one. Next one. No.
Okay, so you said Wedding Wire. Do you have any other?
Definitely, like if you have a Gmail account or just like Google Drive, because I was, you're emailing back and forth for the contracts and whatever. So you can, when they send you that PDF file, you can literally just save it to your Google Drive right there. And then like I invested in a printer, so like I also made hard copies and stuff. But if you just want it like electronic to like review it or send it to your planner or whatever, it's all right there too. So
I tried making a hard copy. It didn't work. It was much like writing a diary.
Yeah.
It was great for the first 2 weeks, and then I'm like, I don't want to write this anymore.
Well, and I think there's so many different ways and avenues to go. There's some people have a huge binder that they keep everything in, and then some people are just like, you know what, it's all gonna work out. So I mean, like it really does depend on what kind of bride you are and how you want to go about planning your wedding. Obviously, when you're working a full-time job, it makes it a little bit more tricky to do those and to do those phone calls. All the more reason to hire a wedding planner. So they're working while you're working, essentially. So those are some ways that Jaricel and Katie have planned their weddings while working a full-time job. Obviously, in the age of Pinterest, there are a ton of ideas and different organizing plans and how to do different things. And so we've just come together with these quick ideas for you this week. Stay tuned for some more fun wedding conversations after these messages. Welcome back. We are going to continue talking about weddings, and this next segment we're just going to talk about what we thought we were going to plan and what we actually planned. So a lot of times when you get engaged, like I was saying earlier, you have these big, huge plans of like, oh, it's going to be wonderful, and I'm going to plan this huge event, and then you start planning it, and you're like, I don't need that. We need about 100 less people. We don't even need food. People can just come and watch us. So what are some of the ideas that you had when you first got engaged, and what have you chopped, and what have you kept?
One of the things definitely is venue, at least for me. I don't know about anybody else, but I had originally thought like barn wedding and fall wedding, but then our date kind of got pushed back, so now we're having a spring wedding. So then we were like, well, maybe not a barn in the spring, and we couldn't really agree on, location with out-of-town family. So we ended up with a backyard wedding at my parents' home, and then so that was definitely one where it was like, well, that's completely different. And then also just guest list, like we wanted a super small, like intimate, and it is still fairly small, but our guest list went from like 40 to like 60. So
60?
I know, it's still small, but really ideally I would have had like
that's my first cousin.
I would have had like 20 people. Oh no, I have a big family too, but they live mostly in different states. And then
she is one of the brides that she was like, I don't care about my family, like it's just gonna be us.
Yep.
What a dream.
Yeah, I know.
You are
right?
living my dream. I thought I was going to have a wedding of 75 to 80 people, with just my first immediate family and then a couple of close cousins, and the same thing on his end. I kind of wanted it to be a little bit, not necessarily backyard wedding, but just very intimate. And then I wanted everyone dressed to the nines, like as if we were going to the Oscars. That was my dream of dreams.
That's her wedding.
I have nothing like that. I have nothing like that. It went from 80 to 250.
Oh man.
So quick. So quick. Right. I think right now the actual count is 261 or something like that. It's just bonkers. And so now every time I get an alert saying somebody's RSVP'd or a text message saying that somebody's coming that like wasn't on the list, just immediate tears. Like it's just money. There's just so many factors. Money obviously is a huge one. And then secondly, it's just like, just trying not to feel overwhelmed on a day that's so special to you, but then also being very grateful that these people are wanting to come and share it with you. So having that balance has been the hardest part for me in the last like 2 weeks. Figuring that out.
What about, like, did you always know, like I know you said you wanted a fall wedding, but then it got to, like, did you always want to get married in the fall? And so did you have this all planned out, and has it pretty much gone like with the decorations and all of that stuff? Yeah,
it's hard because Pinterest can be your best friend.
Or the devil.
Exactly. So that's like the epitome of expectation / reality. For me has been Pinterest. So, and then also like, it's hard. It's hard to do something that you find is really beautiful and unique, but also like not the entire first two pages of Pinterest.
Right.
So yes, it is exactly, decoration wise, it is exactly what I wanted. Or what I want now, I guess. But yeah, like I think it's gonna be gorgeous, and that part I'm really excited about, probably because that's the like main part that I'm not really doing. That's all planner all the way, and she just sends me pictures and is like, oh, this is okay, and I'm like, sounds great, sign me up. I'll be there.
And I think I was lucky in the fact that I didn't have Pinterest, and so like now when I have a bride and we meet for the consultation, she's like, and on Pinterest, I'm like, ugh. Like, do you understand, like that is gorgeous, but do you understand what goes into that picture? Like, it's not just the structure, it's the lighting and there's so much more.
Right.
And so when I was planning my wedding, we didn't have Pinterest, and I got married in December, and I planted this like huge winter wonderland, and then like 2 months before my wedding, I was like, wait a minute, I live in South Carolina. Don't I want it to be like hot, like Miami at my wedding?
Right.
And so like I started planning this like completely different, like everything, but I got, slapped back to reality, and I was like, Amber, you've already done everything. So, but it did turn out to be gorgeous. But it is interesting how when you're growing up or when you get engaged, you're like, oh, it's gonna be la la la, And then come to find out it can't. Like, you can't do everything that you wished you would have done.
Yeah.
So, but in the end, the most important thing when you're getting married is that you are marrying your best friend. And it doesn't matter. There's going to be so many things that go wrong on the wedding day. And I know that everybody has heard this. I'm serious, guys. I'm serious. Like, for example, I think right before I was about to walk down the aisle, I had like Christmas trees, and I had so much stuff like on the stage. The electricity went out. And I was just sitting back there like, well, I mean, there it went.
I can't cry. I paid too much money for this.
Yeah. So, but I mean, they got the electricity back on, and I married my best friend. So, like, you know, there's so many things that can go wrong during the wedding day, and everything is not going to go as planned. But the most important thing is that you are marrying your best friend and marrying somebody who you know will be there for a lifetime. So, thank you guys so much for joining me today and sharing your tips and tricks for planning a wedding while you're working full time. And thank you guys for joining us. Tune in next week to find out what our topic is.